Hello, everyone. My name is Paweł Miechowski. I work at 11BitStudios. I've been, here it is, working on games since almost 30 years. Many of them were quite notable successes. Mostly, I guess, these were of mine, Frostpunk, and lately, The Alters. I've been a designer, a writer, a PR guy, marketing guy. Now I work on building the brand of the company through education, charity actions, and such. But I have been also the head of communication campaign for Frostpunk 2 and The Alters until I stepped down 2 years ago, and I kept on building the brand of the company. But I want to share a little bit with you on how we work with marketing at 11bit because I believe there's something worth sharing. So here's a bird's eye view given on based on two examples of our last two games, which is Frostpunk 2 and The Alters. So I'm gonna head quickly through some background ideas behind how we work, and then show you some examples from the Alters game campaign. So the kickoff. The kickoff is an idea. We usually work that way, that even when there's a prototype of a game and it plays okay, still there has to be a leading idea behind everything, behind the game, behind the campaign, behind the communication, the idea that drives entire team forward to, create whatever we want to create. And Frostpunk 2 is a special example because it's a sequel to Frostpunk, a very successful game. We spent around, I think, 3 million euro on the game, so not a small project. It paid off in 2 days, and by this day, I think it could have made something around 50 million euros. So very successful game, millions of copies of sold. So we're making a sequel. The leading idea behind Frostpunk was the city must survive. So it's a city survival game. I hope you know it a bit. And here we are working on a sequel. It took a few years, actually. And the leading idea in the end was the city must not fall. So in the first game, we have built the city. It has survived. OK, what happens next? The city exists, and it must not fall. So basically, in each game, and sometimes it works great, sometimes we have some hiccups, but basically we treat the marketing and the game and the organization, the structure, as one. So think as a game as something bigger, which actual development is a coherent part of it, immanent part of it, but it's not all. The marketing is the part of the same thing, and it should be in line with exactly what the game is. So we sit down with the dev team, me being the marketing guy and PR guy, thinking with the dev team what we want to create and how we are going to tell people about the creation and what they can expect. And this is the one big idea, which in this case was the city must not fall, and how we go to it. Each time we create a set of documents, which is done by the marketing team, but never without connection to the development folks. So if you're a small team of 4 people and you wear different hats, there's always this person who takes care about promoting the game through Reddit and TikTok or whatever you do. Keep in mind that it's a coherent part of the team. That think as marketing as a part of the development. I know you may not like it, but in my experience, it works the best when it's actually just one same thing. And when we sit down, we write for each game, and really I've been working for, I think, around 30 games in my life. Each time, we forged this over time, that this sort of document is the Bible that drives us forward and usually works best. And this document says, our marketing plan, basically what the game is. What is it? What the gameplay is? What am I actually doing in the game? Am I building buildings? Am I sending people to mine to get resources? Am I sending people to the forest to get wood? Am I shooting if it's a shooter game? And if I'm shooting, why am I shooting? So basically, this is the game summary. Then we are positioning the game. Is it double A? Is it should be considered as a small game? I mean, term indie usually refers to a small game and basically done by an independent team. But even if it's not, it's still positioning tells you what size of a game, where you are on the shelf in your virtual store, be it Steam, be it Epic Games Store, wherever you guys are selling the game, there's still a shelf. And a shelf is the place the player looks at when his or she is entering the store. So we are positioning the game. We are thinking when and how and through which channels we are speaking about the game. So this is our media point. Well, key features basically describe in points what the game is as a, I hate this lingo, but as a product. Sometimes you need to think of your game as a product. Still, I would like to undermine that creating the game in itself is the most important process. And if you love creation, it's the most valuable thing in whatever you guys are doing. And usually, I think it pays best when the most effort and your heart goes to specifically into creation, but treat working as a marketing as a part of the creation. I used to be a developer as well, and I used to be a marketing person, so I have both of those perspectives, and often they are super intertwined and interconnected for me. Working in marketing is very creative because even when you want to create a trailer, you sit down, you think about the idea, narrative, everything you want to tell, then you put together, assemble, add music, and so on, and make the writing. So it's a very creative process. When done along with the development team, it usually works best. Anyhow, then we sit down and write the USP, so unique selling points. Super important thing, and often I think misunderstood, because unique selling point is something that makes your game stand out from the crowd. And sometimes it's not that it has 42 levels or 7 ways of shooting enemies, because other games have that too. So you need to think carefully what your game is, what makes it unique comparing to millions of other games. We look at competition games, well, what games are to look up to, because they have maybe similar vibe, or people may be interested in that games, not yours, because they are from the same area, so to speak. And we sit down to think who is actually our player. And as much as thinking about the outcome when the game comes out and sells is important, still, again, the process of creation and communicating about it is way more important. And if you stay true to it, there's a higher chance you're gonna be successful, at least in a way, allowing you to make money to make another game, which is, I believe, the point in if you wanna professionally make games and make a living out of it. So out of all these lists, let me just quickly look at a few examples which I find very important. So positioning is a genre, right? We think, okay, Frostpunk 2, it's a city builder, but it's a survival game. It's a little bit of Forex game. So basically a strategic game. So this is where we position it. It's not an action game. It's not a shooter. It's not an adventure game at all. We want to know what the genre is. Sometimes I think it really makes sense if you create your unique genre. This is how we actually approach Frostpunk 1. So we had a city builder, and a lot of the game was about to make the city survive. So we created a term city survival. And now it lives as a genre, and it really made sense. So think about sometimes what actually your game is in a genre, but don't, at least I would recommend, not to make a game for a specific genre. Just think of your game as your unique creation and where does it fit. Pricing is also quite important, so we usually determine the price at the very beginning, at least some margin for the price, because it also tells you where you wanna aim with the scope of your game. Sometimes players don't wanna pay 40 euro and expect the game to be 4 hours entertainment. On the other hand, I think the quality of the experience is way more important than the time. And I often refer to Limbo, which is one of my all-time favorite games. I finished the game in 3 hours, and still I will never forget it. It was amazing 3 hours of experience. Anyhow, positioning. Well, in case of Frostpunk 2, we thought AA+. So the game was big enough, so there need to be a proper production value that people will appreciate when playing the game. You need to know we spent around 15 million euro for everything. So not a triple game, but not a small production either. Around 70 people at the end of the production phase. Yeah, quite expensive thing. Anyhow, next important thing for us is to determine where and how we want to talk to people. In this case, I pointed out 3D Juegos because it's a well-known media even in Poland, because for the Spanish-speaking community, which is huge because outside Spain there's entire South and Latin America speaking Spanish, and even they have their own media. They surely read media from your country, from Spain. So anyhow, determining the channels will make you more focused on where and how you want to speak about your game. So we thought that since it's a big production, mainstream in the games is quite important. Our community, which thanks to our previous productions has millions of players on Steam, is very important. So communicating through Steam news and such really made sense. Please keep in mind that Valve is changing the news algorithm on Steam all the time, so it's very inconvenient and they are messing up, because back in the days they allowed for cross-promotion. So once you had a game, you could easily cross-promote your new game. You can still do it, but the algorithm strongly limits the reach of such news, which is unfortunately not good for the devs, but well, that's how it is. Anyhow, we determine social media through which we wanna talk. Our game is our target players are usually these are not teenagers. What we found out on different shows, like in your case, Madrid Games Week, at which we have been years ago, or PAX in US, or Gamescom, what players are attracted most to our games. So mostly this is the 25 to 45-year-old player. Not strong division between the genres, I guess. A lot of women play our games as well. So TikTok, in our case, was not super important. Way more X, that used to be called Twitter before Elon Musk crazy era, found out to be super effective, that people actually look for the news on Twitter, so we use Twitter, and particular influencers. Of course, you may think that it costs a lot of money to bring attention from influencers, and in many cases it is, but reaching them out with your content and just trying to get their attention for free is also doable, and we've of course try to do it as well, but we specifically look where the people are looking at games similar to ours. So even if you can have I don't know, PewDiePie is a famous case, right? He used to be, I don't know how about now, but he used to be a super popular YouTuber, but making jokes about stupid mobile applications or viciously joking about mobile games, that was content popular for his audience, but not selling games at all. So in our case, this was completely not the target. I can give you an example that once Markiplier, the YouTuber, he made a video about Frostpunk 1, a random thing. Like we didn't approach him, we were not hoping that it could happen, but it happened. Like the guy took our game and made a video. At the very moment he releases the video, and the video made hundreds of thousands of views in an hour, our game instantly rose in the bestseller list. There's a direct relation between the release of the video and a huge spike of sales of Frostpunk. So it's an example to think that there are very specific influencers who are showing the games to your core audience, which brings me later here, but I'm gonna refer to USP again, which should make you think about what is your player. Sometimes you are the player, right? When creating this War of Mine, we were thinking that we're actually making a game for people like ourselves. So we want to play something that is mature, serious, not so amusing, but more engaging, and something that is emotionally engaging, but a game that would take you 10, maybe 15 hours, but not a super long campaign for 200 hours like Baldur's Gate. I'm not saying this is a bad game. I'm actually a big fan of what Larian is doing, but I'm saying that I don't have much time to play games, so I prefer shorter experiences. This is why we decided to make a game for people pretty much like ourselves. Anyhow, the next thing which always try to determine, this is super important, is the unique selling point, because this will tell you what makes your game different. And don't think that one of the key features of the game is automatically USP or the key features are USPs. Not at all. Unique selling point is what makes your game simply different. It can be practically anything. Even if you look at the Return of the Obra Dinn done by Lucas Pope. Do you know this game? So Return of Obra Dinn, one of the USPs is the color palette, because none game has such a color palette, which is monochrome green. It's made actually out of two colors, right? Like old 8-bit games. And it makes stand out from the crowd, but there's a set of different features making it stand out from the crowd. Anyhow, with Frostpunk 2, since the city already survived in the first game, and now we're creating a society simulator, we thought that society survival is a USP, because you're creating a society that still needs to survive in a frozen wasteland. Another USP, it's a major tale about human nature, because lust for power is a behavior often present in our, in humankind. Since lust of power is something, even if you don't have, you naturally understand because it's all over the place. Politicians have lust for power, billionaires like Elon Musk have lust for power. You can easily refer to what it is. So having such a major tale about what humans are deeply inside is a USP, because there's not many games about that, in fact. Another thing we have in Frostpunk is a unique law and social ideas system. Basically, this is an example where through different decisions you can shape your society in a very weird way to make it how do you say in English? Totalitarian society in the end. And what I meant before, determining your target is also quite important. And again, don't think about the outcome, but just who you are making the game for. In this case, fans of strategy games was a simple choice. Also, people simply knowing Frostpunk, because it's a sequel. then speaking to people who already know the intellectual property, the universe of Frostpunk was an easy choice for us. But this is the core target. Sometimes there is a target you can approach as a new one. In this case, people who don't know Frostpunk but are looking for games that are not so easily approachable. By that I mean some games are just pure fun, pure entertainment. Our games, like this War of Mine or Frostpunk, are not such at all. Our games are demanding, psychological, they have a hidden meaning, and we are doing this on purpose. So people who are seeking for such kind of experience in games are our target, possibly fans of strategy and 4X games. We thought that Frostpunk 2, the idea behind the game is somewhat, in a way, Paradox are making their strategy games, like a deep, hardcore strategy games. So we thought this might be our extra target player. And then, when we know what we want to say, sometimes we need to figure out that there might be bumps on the road. In this case, when we were talking about the idea of the game, we figured out that it's different to Frostpunk, which means that in this case, the real problem was that people usually, I've been working on a few series in my life, and usually it's that people expect from a sequel that it's going to be same like the first game, but a little bit more. Take a look at the new Hollow Knight. Well, it's a great game, but is it any far different from the first one? Usually, when I look at the successful series, the next game in a series is the first one plus a little bit of something new, a little bit of change. You cannot be too revolutionary, while we were. So the problem was that the game was actually almost a new game, which brings the risks and opportunities. So such a change of scope led us to thinking that the communication and the campaign needs to address that, that it's almost like a brand new game in the same universe, but technically bigger, talking about not individuals like in Frostpunk, but entire societies and factions in the societies. So it was a challenging thing. And the reason I am telling this is that you surely know that in games you are experiencing abstract problems that in the development you are experiencing abstract problems that you need to solve. And a lot of the game development process is basically solving a problem. And pretty much it's the same in marketing. So think about it as the same process. What problems you will have in communicating about the game and how to solve them. So when you determine key problems you're going to encounter on your way and the solution to them, it becomes your brief. Brief in the marketing lingo is, the major plan for your campaign, and this is how we determine that the city must not fall, that we should paint burning cities in the goggles of a character to show how the world is going into chaos and such, and that's how we determined we should tell about the game under the city must not fall slogan. And when we create the plan, we usually, I'm not saying you should, but that's what we do. We usually look for a quote from a smartest person to show us the way, to kind of drive us. And in this case, we found a quote from Ariel Duron. I don't know, maybe that's how I should pronounce, which is a great civilization is not conquered from without until it has destroyed itself from within. So a lot of communication about Frostpunk 2 and the game itself is about that you are building a huge utopian society, but the problems, conflicts inside the society are your main enemy. If you don't solve conflicts within your society, it will fall. Hence the slogan, the city must not fall. And sometimes, even if we don't use these quotes in the communication outside, we use them inside to remember what we are actually doing. And then, just to show you, super sexy graphics. And then we build a plan, slide after slide. Usually the plan is, 50 to even 90 points to be as detailed as possible. Of course, you don't need to do that when you're a small team and you are making an indie game. I'm just telling that the more detailed communication plan you're gonna have at the beginning, just the better. And then we plan the beats, what we should do, where to build awareness, what are our goals and such. And I may say that, okay, we have a great plan, it's awesome, but it turned out that last year in April we have released the beta of the game for the players on Steam. And they said that the game is not about people, it's about numbers. And that was a major problem because entire communication was that we're building a society, the city that must not fall, and the conflicts in society may destroy the city. And then people play and say, yeah, it's a good game, but it's a grand strategy. We don't feel people in it. So we have actually delayed the game because we gathered that feedback and made changes. We didn't change the communication about the game. It stayed because we felt it is actually rightful, but the perception of people were away from what we were saying and what we wanted to achieve. So there were changes in the game to bring the more human feel. Animate more figures going through the city, make the camera be able to zoom in to see how the city is actually living, and actually a lot of work has been put into it. But it's not as great. This is the latest rating taken from Steam database. The game, I must say, sold really well. It's actually, so far, the best-selling game in our history. And Frostpunk 2 sold super well. We made the investment back also in a few days. But as you see, we have a lot of negative comments. More than 25% of the comments on Steam are negative, and it comes from the fact not that the game is broken technically, but there's a lot of people disappointed that the game is far away from what was Frostpunk 1. And we have a really great team at 11BitStudios, but I must admit that we have made this quite serious mistake of not addressing communication to people properly, that they should expect a game in the universe that they know, but that is far away from what Frostpunk 1 was. And we knew that, we tried to address that, but we didn't do, I guess, enough. So we're still updating the game with different free updates and DLCs and stuff. From the financial point of view, it's doing really, really well. From the perception point of view, there are problems that we are still struggling and thinking how to make the game as we originally communicated what it should be. So, of course, it's not that we are completely mistaken. It's rather that we may drive the evolution of the game more towards what we told the community that it would be. Because, in fact, it is our mistake. Some disconnection between the development and the marketing team. And I would say, since this is our mistake, that the advice to you would be to avoid this misconnection at any time. Because we probably did not understand what player loved most in the first game. Anyhow, let me move to the altars and show you more specific examples. It's a game that we have released in June this year, and actually also doing very well. Not as well as Frostpunk 2, but since the alters were released on Xbox and PlayStation on day one, same as on PC, it's the best-selling console release for us so far. It's also in Game Pass on Xbox if you wanna try and have Game Pass, and on Microsoft Store because it's in Game Pass on both, on Windows in Microsoft Store and on Xbox in Xbox Game Pass. Anyhow, here the challenge was different, and we also had some hiccups. Let me show you some sneak peek from the actual plan that we have made for the alters. At the very beginning, we have prepared game overview, mostly based on screenshots from the announced trailer, key arts like the middle one, and some drawings from the concept art team about how the game should look like, because it was still very early in the development when we have prepared this plan. Although the game was released in June, so half a year ago, this basic plan has been created 4 years ago, I think, as far as I remember correctly. Anyhow, first, game overview. So where we are, what is our technical target? PC and consoles, as simple as that. What is the positioning? What is standard retail price expected? So we would assume that would be between 30 and 40 euro. What would be the gameplay style of the early prototype was already working, of course. What would be the genre tags, so expected tags to be given by players on Steam. These things are super important because often players seek for new titles based on their beloved genres, tags, and such. And also Steam recommends games to players based on those things. They use algorithms to promote games. So what is the mode? What is the length? In the end, the game takes 30-something hours to finish. So our assumption that it would be a game for 12 to 15 hours was completely wrong. What is the setting? What are the themes? What are the key aspects of the game? What are the unique selling points? Look at, if you know the alters, and if you don't, ping me after the presentation later on, somewhere here around, I can get you a Steam key. It's not a problem. Anyhow, this game is basically about a guy stranded on a desert planet whose spaceship crashed, and this guy, through some super duper quantum physics, can make alternate versions of himself, and he must, otherwise he dies. So he needs a group of people to survive, but the only way to have a group of people is to make alternate versions of himself. And then build up the base, and then get resources, and then get away from the burning sun, and so on. So even as you see, I cannot communicate about the game for you in 1-2 sentences. It's a little bit more complicated. It's a psychological game, and for us that was an opportunity and a challenge as well. So as you see, creating an interactions with your alternate versions is surely a unique selling point. A well-known blend of mechanics like base builder, survival game, team management, base management, but added to the super fresh ideas like creation of your alternative versions is a unique side of the game. Tree of life, it's in a game there's a branching tree of different decisions that you make to create those alternate versions of yourself, and indeed those are unique selling points. We determined the targets, super important, and I think it worked, are, for example, cherry pickers. So people who are looking for super unique experiences in games, not necessarily related to a genre, not necessarily related to tonality, be it serious, be it super fun game, but very unique experiences. Fans of science fiction themes and games. We've seen a lot of interest on Twitter from people who are fans of the movie The Moon. And actually, The Moon is probably the film, the main inspiration for creating of the alters. So we determine who the game is for, who it is not for. It also makes sense to know who are you not creating for. So sometimes you realize easily that something is not worth your effort. And we thought that the main campaign should be around simple question, what if? Because in the game you create alternate version of yourself based on a different decision in your life, because quantum physics, super duper. Anyhow, this different decision in your life creates this alternative version number 1, 2, 3, up to 9, as far as I remember. You can make, or even maybe 10. I never managed to big that group. Anyhow, the point is that we thought that asking this question to players over and over, what if? What if you do this? What if you do that? It works, it sparks curiosity, but not enough. It was challenging to communicate. So we thought in the middle of campaign, because we started it already with those questions, that it's okay, but not great. This is challenging. It's hard. The game is super unique, but it's hard to tell people how unique it is, because you need to explain and explain and explain. So we thought this is not great. And to use those unique selling points and build upon those unique selling points to somewhat change the campaign, that we thought that, okay, this implies there's an exceptional premise. You create and interact with your own alternate versions. That it's a well-known blend of different well-known mechanics. That there's this tree of life and a unique, excellent, I would say, narrative for which we have been given at least many nominations for the Game Awards, which happened yesterday, but Claire Obscure is winning everything, where we have been nominated, Golden Joystick and such. Anyhow, we thought that there's a great base to implicate specific campaign further. I'm going to be a little bit faster because I see there's only 3 minutes left. That there are specific issues to address. That, for example, people are saying these are clones. No, these are not clones. These are alternate versions of yourself, and they had unclear expectations. So we somewhat changed the big idea into something with a still unique premise. Something that would kept this what-if spirit of the game that resonates with many people, because all of us are asking this question, what if I did something in my life differently, a year ago, 10 years ago? What if? This question resonates very well, but it's hard to communicate when you want to say what the game actually is about. So based on this, we thought that there are some problems in communicating and in perception of people, so we need to change the big idea from what if into all by myself. Sounds pretty cool. There's even this song, all by myself, and we thought actually about using this song. In the end, we were using this slogan and making trailers and videos for TikTok and images for Reddit channels driven by this idea, and it was great, not terrible, but not great again. So we made another change in the communication, because we noticed that it's super catchy, but people get attention and then they're like confused. Okay, it's interesting, but what the hell the game is about? Because I think our biggest mistake in this case is that the game is super unique, but so unique that it's hard to communicate. because you're creating alternate version of yourself, and you're dealing with them, and you're making the base, and da 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 da. So the shorter and the easier for you to communicate about your game, the better. It's not the case. So actually, we reiterated the idea again to talk about the survival game, because it is a survival game, but with a very personal approach, because it's about you and alternate versions of yourself. Hence, survival has never been so personal. And it's very challenging, but lately we have released a free update with some cool new features to the game. And in this case, I must say that those changes made sense, because the perception of the game is, even after the last update, overwhelmingly positive. You know that it is super important for you to take care about it, because based on those data, Steam algorithm is promoting your game to similar audiences. So it really makes sense to have this perception really well cooked. So of course it's all about the numbers in the end when the game comes out, and the number of copies sold is the most important number, obviously. But then how people perceive it for the long life of your game is super important. And in this case, it worked, but it was super challenging. So we had to involve ourselves into creative thinking, how to communicate about the game in another way, and my time is off. Thank you very much.